I gave Vince McMahon every championship in the WWE and to see if whether he can keep them or lose them in a span of a year. So let's see what happens. Vince McMahon's journey starts at Money in the Bank, and his first opponent, he's defending the WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar. So it looks pretty grim, right? Well, no, because John Cena comes out before the match and beats up Brock Lesnar to the point where it's a draw. So the match is called off, and Vince McMahon, by default, retains the WWE Championship. Our next match is at NXT In Your House, where Vince McMahon, the NXT champion, defends his championship against Walter with Imperium at his side. So no interference for Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon proceeds to squash Walter in like 3 minutes to retain the NXT title, hitting a corporate elbow and a stunner to beat Walter in 3 minutes. So Vince retains in a very easy match. At WrestleMania Backlash, Vince McMahon once again has to defend the WWE Championship, but this time against Big E. And Big E is able to defeat Vince McMahon and win the WWE Championship, although the WWE title plates are actually missing. But regardless, Vince McMahon has lost one of his championships. Extreme Rules, the horror show. Well, it was horrible for Vince because he originally didn't even get booked. So we kind of just randomized what title he would defend and who he would defend it against. And it was Elias for the U.S. Championship. And unfortunately, this randomizer was bad for Vince because he lost the United States Championship to Elias. So now he's 2 titles down in a row. So losing streak for Vince. Let's see if this changes in the next one. It's SummerSlam, and Vince McMahon is now having to put up another one of his championship belts, this time against the Swiss cyborg Cesaro. And in an actual decent match, again, from Vince McMahon of all people, Vince McMahon retains his Intercontinental Championship, even if he doesn't want it. No, I'm just kidding. The streak isn't over. It actually continues to get worse for Vince. As at TakeOver 30, he takes on Samoa Joe for the NXT Championship. And Samoa Joe chokes him out with the Coquina Clutch, and Vince McMahon loses the NXT Championship to Samoa Joe. So no more NXT title for him. It does get worse for Vince, unfortunately. Payback. Cesaro actually gets payback because he gets a rematch for some weird reason in the rivalry of these two. And Cesaro was able to become Intercontinental Champion by defeating Vince McMahon. So Vince McMahon is now down to 1 championship belt, the Universal Championship. But wait, there's a twist. You see, Cesaro has 1 win and Vince has 1 win. So it only means that there's a trilogy. So there's one more match, Clash of Champions. It is a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Vince McMahon versus Cesaro for the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match. And Cesaro didn't even try to win. He didn't even try. So by that alone, Vince McMahon was able to regain his Intercontinental Championship because Cesaro is a complete doofus and didn't even try to win his title back. Vince McMahon is back at NXT, but this time it's TakeOver 31. And he's got to defend his NXT North American Championship against Santos Escobar of Legado del Fantasma. And actually, quite surprising outcome, Santos Escobar won. Yes, Santos Escobar wins the North American Championship from Vince. And Vince McMahon is out of championships in NXT, so that means he's done. He's not going back to NXT. NXT is done for him. So, which is probably a good thing because he probably doesn't like NXT. So we go to the Hell in a Cell now, and finally Vince McMahon actually has to defend the Universal Championship after like months of just it being completely silent. This time he's got to defend against Drew McIntyre inside of Hell in a Cell. And unfortunately, Vince loses his Universal Championship with Drew McIntyre. So, yeah, not good for Vince. At the Survivor Series, the good news is for Vince is that he doesn't have to defend any title. But the bad news is that he's going to be in a battle royal against 7 other guys. So, one of the bad news is that one of the people in the match is Brock Lesnar, a guy who probably wants to destroy him for taking away his title match. But Brock Lesnar is able to, not Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon is able to dump him out of the match. So, Vince McMahon survives for now. However, an interesting tad bit is that despite Vince losing the Battle Royal, he's actually able to eliminate the United States champion in this match. So that's something. And due to Vince McMahon eliminating the U.S. champion, Vince McMahon, a title shot for the U.S. title. So at TLC, Vince McMahon got to fight for the U.S. title against Apollo Crews in another monotonous ladder match. And unfortunately for Vince this time, he didn't win. So Apollo Crews was able to retain the United States Championship against Vince McMahon. Despite this setback, Vince McMahon decided to enter himself into the Royal Rumble match. And, well, it didn't work. I was not going to play the match. There's no way I'm going to play a Royal Rumble match. So I decided to sim it, and Vince McMahon didn't win. So apparently Shinsuke Nakamura won the match. But I don't know if he got a title shot. Who knows? We don't really care. We just care about our guy. We care about Vince. That's it. Despite losing the Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon was somehow able to weasel his way into an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship at Elimination Chamber. Unfortunately for Vince, he started out the match with Bobby Lashley. So he didn't do very well. Like, he had all the odds stacked against him from the get-go. And because of that, Vince McMahon was not able to win the match. So, bad luck all around for Vince McMahon. Kind of the theme of this whole video. So now we get to the final pay-per-view before WrestleMania, Fastlane, where Vince has to defend the Intercontinental Championship, his last title, against the number one contender. No. Change that. There we go. Sami Zayn. Yes, Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn was close. No cigar. As Vince McMahon somehow retains the Intercontinental Championship at Fastlane and is now going into WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Champion. But the question is, who is he going to face? Who will he defend the championship against? Well, Vince McMahon is going to pull a double whammy. He's going to be wrestling on both nights of WrestleMania. Night 1, he's going to be fighting AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. And Night 2, he's going to be fighting Brock Lesnar as he defends his Intercontinental Championship from Brock. Starts out with AJ versus Vince for the WWE Championship. And after a hard-fought match, Vince McMahon gets caught in the calf crusher and has to tap out to AJ Styles. So Vince McMahon has lost the WWE Championship match and now has to go into Night 2 against the man that he has tried to dodge throughout this entire year, Brock Lesnar. And now, Night 2, WrestleMania. Vince McMahon defends his Intercontinental Championship, the only title he has left, against Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar destroys Vince McMahon, unfortunately. Brock Lesnar gets his revenge on Vince McMahon for screwing him out of the WWE Championship and eliminating him in the Battle Royal by taking away the only championship that he has left, the Intercontinental Championship. So Brock Lesnar wins the IC title, and Vince McMahon is left with nothing. So the question that we asked, could Vince McMahon survive a year with all the championships in WWE? And the answer was no. If you don't count the fact that he tried to regain the titles that he already lost, the answer is no. So even when he got the titles back that he already lost, he still lost them all in the end. So this experiment was a failure, but it was fun. So I hope you had fun watching it.